Thanks, everybody, for taking the time to be with us here today. This is certainly always one of my favorite days of the year. I think sometimes as a program, as a staff, us coaches, we take it for granted. This is our livelihood. This is our lifeblood, the recruiting. But you start to get the text messages and the conversations that roll in, not only from the perspectives that the prospects that sign with us today, but their families, and you just really realize how truly special this day is as they make a game-changing decision for them to come join a family, not just a basketball family, but an athletic department. And again, like Maren said, to congratulate everybody else and to welcome everybody to our family, it's very exciting. I do want to, like Maren did, thank our staff. A couple of them are here today. I understand the legwork that goes into that. We really appreciate that, and it makes a huge impact. They go out and represent us in a tremendous way, along with our current student athletes. It's fun to see them kind of even compete as they get going and have the prospects and their families on. And when we get a commitment, they're high-fiving. And I'm 3-0 now on hosting, and so it's a pretty neat deal. But I'm really, really excited for the three that we're able to sign here this morning. And when we go back and we define our recruiting profile and even take it a step further in our selection profile of really guys that want to be here and guys that understand what it is about to be at North Dakota State. Guys that have a little bit of an understanding, and you look at all three of the young men that come from what we would term our Tier 1, the 6 states within the region that help explain on the forefront of what our environment, our culture, our atmosphere is like. Guys that understand a little bit about the background, the history, the tradition of North Dakota State men's basketball and the athletic department in general. So that certainly helps. The first one, Jarius Cook, as we continue to really dive into that Tier 1 recruiting, the Twin Cities, the Minneapolis Twin Cities, the base and the level of talent in that area is an area that we really need to get back into, dive into. And you're going to see today with Jarius signing and then Vinny as well, we were able to do that. Jarius is a dynamic, as Coach Brown would say, athletic guard that has the ability to score it at a really high level. And just really, really excited to get to know Jarius and his family through the process. And Coach Kleiman talks a lot about how big camp is for them. Jarius was up here with us for camp for a couple days. We were out there and running around all over the country following him in July, and he just continuing to reiterate the type of person, student, and obviously player that we want in our program. So very excited to have Jarius and his family join our family. Jackson Notek, Jackson's process was maybe a little different. We didn't find out about him or really get to know Jackson until the July period had already started, and then it went really quick. He was up here really quick in the August, right after the July period was over in August with his family. And we had a pretty good idea of how it was trending and tracking, and then that first home football weekend he was here and made his commitment and just really excited. You look at what's made us successful on the perimeter, and that's that size, that length, and you can see at 6'5", 6'6", Jackson brings a ton of that. And Jackson has one of the purest strokes that I've seen from top to bottom, from his footwork to how he finishes. And you can't judge a book by its cover. When you see Jackson, he kind of just is this mild-mannered personality, and when he hops on the court, he's really got a killer instinct. And a young man that's really driven by his faith and really excited to see Jackson progress throughout his career here and have him and his family join us. And then Vinny Shaheed, no offense to the other two, and they're all great, but you just start talking about Vinny and you get a smile on your face. Vinny is just, everybody knows Vinny in the Twin Cities, a guy that you just want to be around. He's got an infectious personality, an infectious smile. I think Vinny's a very talented young man. Had an opportunity just this past weekend to go see him play against some high-level competition, and he did extremely well. And not to downgrade his talent at all, but what makes Vinny the type of player he is and helps separate him is just the characteristics about the young man that he is, the person that he is, the leader as he is. And so, again, really, really excited. I always enjoy this day. And as we continue to go into our season and build these relationships with our guys and then welcome them next summer as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Dave, maybe the first time in my recollection you beat a Missouri Valley and Northern Iowa head-to-head for Jarius. What does that say, I guess, about the level of guys you're looking at and now looking at your school?
Well, again, I said it yesterday at the press conference, too, when it comes to scheduling, bring on the competition. We're going to compete in the classroom. We're going to compete in life. We're going to compete on the court. We're going to compete, in recruiting. And for us, we don't get into that, who's recruiting you or this or that, a whole bunch. We find guys that we like, try to identify that early in the process of guys that have some interest in us and really build those relationships. And I think, you know, the way we were able to build a relationship with Jarius and his family really paid off in the long run.
Did the way that your point guard situation kind of played out this offseason unexpectedly have anything to do with looking at a JUCO point guard?
Yeah, no, most certainly. But again, what makes Vinny so attractive is you go back to his roots at Minneapolis, and you know, he's from that Tier 1, and a guy that had won a state championship at Hopkins, a premier program within the state of Minnesota. But yeah, I mean, you look around at mid-major basketball and experience. You know, upperclassmen, juniors, and seniors are winning, and that certainly helps us, and I think it brings out some great competition within our program.
Dave, was it a lack of, when you looked at the roster, that you guys weren't in the Twin Cities, that we've got to make an active role to get back in there? What was the conscious thought to say we've got to get back there?
Yeah, I think we're always looking, but again, so much about what we do, Dom, is a fit, and we want guys to understand what we're all about on and off the court, in the classroom, and as things continue to progress and track with Jarius, they just made a lot of sense, and that relationship was built up. He did have some other opportunities. With Jarius' situation, it really felt like a true recruiting battle win, you know, from a standpoint of he'd been at camp, we'd built the relationship, we'd been in the home, he'd gone on other visits, and when he came out, it came about relationships and, you know, going to a place where he felt that it fit. And we've gone into the Twin Cities multiple times before, some had some success, not had some success, but it really comes down to, you know, what we're looking for and finding that fit. At the very end of the day, the last thing I want to do or we're going to do is beg somebody to come here, and we want guys that want to be Bison or excited about being Bison.
What stage in the process do you notice guys and their attitudes? And, you know, obviously, I don't know if it can come through on film, but where does that stage come up?
Well, again, I think that goes back into the type of recruiting we do. When I say, you know, the Tier 1 guys within our region, not only is it about them and what we're hearing from them, but there's a lot of connections that we have, myself, our staff has within the region, so we can get to people that know the young man, that know the family, that can help with those questions pretty early in the conversation. And again, like everybody's excited on signing day, right? I understand that. And so you never know exactly what you have until you get them here. But you're also, you base your experience on past experience. And some of the conversations that we have, you know, simple things this day and age of please and thank you. Please and thank yous don't go very far, you know, go a long ways, and you just don't hear them. And, you know, I can firmly speak to all three of their visits when they would hold a door, or when you would hold a door for them. You know, those things matter to myself. Those things matter to our program. And I'm a firm believer, you know, it's not what you're doing, how you're doing it. And when you do it with the right people, it'll take care of what you're doing.
Your current roster composition goes into the sales pitch for a player. I mean, you've got Paul Miller, who's a combo guard, clearly shoots it at a high level. Does that help you sell your program to a guy like Jarius, or is it not really part of the?
Yeah, it's really interesting that you bring that up. That's one of my very first lines I talk about in a home visit or when we sit down. I don't have a great sales pitch. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. Here's who we are. We put everything on the table. If you like that, if you have a pretty good understanding of what that's about, come join us. Come hop in. If not, let us know where you're going. We'll try to schedule you. And we're not scared to go anywhere, compete against anybody, but we want guys that want to be here. And this is 4 or 5 of the greatest years of your life. We're going to go on the road, and at some point we're going to get smacked around, and I'm going to be with those guys the next few days. I'm not trying to sell them or surround myself with people I wouldn't want to play with. And so, you know, when it comes down to someone getting told this or sold that, we usually lose those battles. And I'm okay with that. I really am. We promise you 2 things. It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done and the most fun. And when we get kids to commit on those premises, you know, we've been fortunate to have a lot of success.